Welcome to Friday I'm in Bed.
Podcast for midlife women living their best life, but in bed by 10. This week on Friday I'm in Bed, we're talking about Jameela Jamil, the leaked text, the backlash, and whether calling out another woman suddenly makes you a fake feminist. We're asking why women are expected to be perfect advocates at all times and why nuance disappears the second a screenshot appears.
We're also talking about Amber Davies opening up about the level of trolling she received after being on reality TV and the uncomfortable truth that a lot of it came from older women. Why does that happen and what's really going on underneath it?
And finally, we're getting into the wine mum narrative and how women of a certain age keep finding themselves blamed, this time for being angry, organised, and apparently responsible for protests too. Same old story, new headline. Outspoken women are the problem. Grab a cuppa and let's get into it.
Hi, Kate. Nice to see you again.
Hello.
Why do I always say it in that voice? Like, hi, how are you?
I don't know, but did somebody get the Wear Leopard memo today?
Yes.
We're both wearing leopard.
I bought this yesterday. So this is the dress I'm wearing is, I think I've repelled myself in my outfit today. So I went to Oliver Bonas yesterday and this was in the sale. So it's got like puffy sleeves and a collar and it's like big and loose and shapeless. And I feel like, yeah, I'm the ultimate man repelling outfit today, I think. And leopard print.
I love leopard print and I live in the leopard print dress I'm wearing today because it's comfortable. So what have you been up to?
Well, I got my ear pierced last week, didn't I? We discussed that. No, I have. Well, it was a bit uncomfortable, but the women kept apologising to me. And I think my pain threshold is quite high, but the women kept going, "Oh, I'm so sorry, it's awful." And I was like, "No, it's all right." But yeah, it wasn't comfortable. I wouldn't do it for fun, although I know some people do, but we won't get into that today. but yeah, it was all right, and I like it, and it's cute. I probably can't see it on camera, and people who are just listening to this can't see it anyway, so I'll stop about that. And I went out on Sunday because it's Burns night. So I went Nate Haggis.
That's very good, isn't it?
Oh, and I read a bit of the Ode to the Haggis out as well.
Very good.
What about you? Anything exciting?
No. My life is daughter GCSE mocks. So I've been doing Elizabethan England and the Cold War. So I can tell you all about that because I've been helping her revise. And my son is having interviews and auditions as we speak for universities. So he's been rehearsing, stressing, rehearsing, breakdown, rehearsing, stressing. You know how it goes. So yeah, that's been me really for the week. But yeah. I've got a gig lined up on Saturday night. So this weekend I'm going to be going out. So that's good because I feel like I haven't been out for 2 weeks.
In bed by 10.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway.
Yeah. So I also, I think, so we are going to cover this later on in the thing. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in America and the news over the weekend was a bit heavy. So I just wanted to say before we start that that's going to be in our last topic. We will be talking about some of that in a particular way that relates to us. So if that's not for you, you can skip out before the end. That's all. That's our trigger warning.
Should we get into it?
Yes. Okay, so the first thing that's happened this week that we're going to talk about is Jameela Jamil having all of her texts released between her and her publicist, who is called Jennifer Abel. So there is backstory to this, which I actually had to read up on because, again, it's kind of celebrity gossipy, which isn't always my thing to know all the details about. Basically, it starts with Blake Lively. Who is suing Justin Baldoni because there was a film that came out August 24, I think it was, over the summer 24, called It Ends With Us. And there is a big job. Basically, they're bickering about Blake Lively said he created a terrible work environment, accused him of inappropriate behaviour. He then she sued him and he countersued her, and then someone sued someone else. Everyone's suing everybody, basically. But as part of that. Lively was criticised, for instance, for promoting some like beauty products during the press junket stuff for the film, because the film's got some quite heavy themes. It talks about domestic violence and things like that. So she was criticised for that. All sorts of other texts have been released. Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift, like all the big names are involved in this. And then some texts have been released from Jameela Jamil. Her publicist is the same publicist as Justin Baldoni has, and they are friends, apparently. So in the text messages, they appear to be talking about a TikTok video, which is of Blake Lively promoting her beauty products of some kind. And from what I've seen, it appears to be the publicist, Jennifer Abel, is kind of angry, and Jameela Jamil is agreeing with her. She calls her a suicide bomber. That phrase has been taken out a lot. She says it's a bizarre villain act. And yeah, so I think there's a lot of things going on behind it. Jameela Jamil's been called a fake feminist because she has obviously been criticising other women, and specifically because Blake Lively accused Justin Baldoni of inappropriate behaviour, and there's questions around that. Is it okay to criticise other women, or if you're going to be a feminist, do you have to support the sisterhood at all times? And also the release of the group chat, that's one of the big things as well. Do we say things with a digital footprint that we would maybe say to each other in person that we wouldn't want released publicly, maybe? So I don't know which question to start with, Kate. Do you ever say, have you got text messages hidden in your cupboard that you wouldn't want people to see?
I don't know whether I do. I have to think about that. However, text messages or not, we are all allowed to have an opinion on somebody without it being released to the world. I think there is a bit of that feeling of, has she, I was going to say set up, that's not the right word. Has she, no, I was going to say violated, that's probably not the right word either. But, I don't know what the word is, but is it fair to have to release text messages about somebody for a case like this when it's just opinion, those texts, surely? So it's, she had an opinion on it. She has an opinion on one member of the case. It gets released. Is that fair? Because we might not all know somebody that's been to court, but if we do, we'll have an opinion on them. Do we need that aired? I don't know. So there's a bit of that, but I don't think that's what she's saying, is it? I think the comeback has been from people that she's a fake feminist for not being on the woman's side. I think that's what I'm reading. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically.
And so my opinion on that is that's rubbish. Because I think on a number of reasons. One, as a woman, as a feminist, I don't have to be on every single woman's side ever. They probably know more than we do on the situation. It doesn't mean, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. They might all be wrong. Who knows? But the point is you are allowed to have an opinion on another woman. You don't have to be friends with every single woman because you're a feminist. And I feel like calling her out on it, is that not like they're setting more rules to being a feminist? You can only be a feminist if you like every woman in the world. Well, there's plenty of women I don't like, and I am a feminist. So does that make me a bad feminist?
It is exactly the point that Jameela Jamil made. She's written a Substack on it, and she also did a couple of Instagram posts on it. And it's exactly the point she made, was that you don't have to like every woman in the world. You need to believe that women deserve equality and support. She also referred to the way she talks to her friends as always being supportive, and the kind of thing that women have where they will ride or die for each other. So what she was doing was, when her friend was hurting, she was diving in. It's the same as, when there's a breakup and then you're like, oh, well, he was awful, I always hated him. And then they get back together and you're like, because you're being supportive because they hate each other now. So Jameela Jamil's suggestion was that's, and you know what, I'm not going to troll back through every text message I've ever written, but I'm pretty sure that if one of my friends sent me a text message saying she absolutely hated someone and she was really, really, really stitching her up, I am fairly sure that I would leap in and go, yes, that's awful. And that doesn't make you a fake feminist. You might not even, it doesn't even have to be opinion. I don't think you need to know all the details about these things. If your friend comes to you and says she's upset, I feel like you agree, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the difference here, obviously, she knows the people involved. We don't, but it's us, not you and I, us, the public, that are making this assumption and accusation against her. So this is going to be a theme, I think, throughout today's podcast, of people sitting at home having an opinion. Funnily enough, so do we. But kind of, and then really going for it. But I mean, it's all right to have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion. But kind of going in on somebody online publicly when you don't know them, you don't know the situation, you don't have all the details, you don't know, what's true and what's not true, just seems, well, systematic of what the world is like at the moment. And I think everyone needs to just calm down a bit.
You feel like you should, it's easy to say, oh, well, you should never say things in private that you wouldn't want somebody to hear. But that's not how the world works, right? There will always be things that you need to get off your chest and things that you need to kind of work out. And sometimes you need to vent and do that blow off steam kind of thing. And I don't think that necessarily means that all of your morals, is that the word I'm looking for? All of your morals and all of your beliefs are just instantly thrown aside because you said one off-kilter thing when you were angry. We all know that people say things when they're angry that they don't necessarily mean. And even if they do mean them, they might not have said them in that way because they do care about other people. Yeah, I think it's dangerous territory. And this is one of those things. I mean, this has happened a few times, hasn't it, as well? There was, crikey, don't want to get into Amber Heard and Johnny Depp again, but there was a thing in there where some text messages Johnny Depp had sent to a friend, which were quite horrendous in tone when you heard them, were read out in court. But again, those things are letting off steam. That's how it always came across to me, was that it was letting off steam in a bad situation. But again, yeah, we don't know all these people and we're purely speculating. But I think sometimes you need to think, have I ever done that? Would I ever do that? Would you be happy if the content of all of your texts and WhatsApps were suddenly released in court? Are you entirely confident that you're not living in a glass house?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's also something about the rules that people are supposed to follow. So, for example, if you're a feminist, in this case, the rule is, according to all the people that are complaining, is that you have to support every woman. But I think it's really hard when you're when you are online, to get it right all the time according to the rules. And I'm saying rules in inverted commas, which you can't see if you're listening to this, because it's like, who decides the rules anyway? So I, for example, on my wedding page, on all my accounts, to be fair, all my businesses and stuff, but on the wedding page, I try to be as inclusive as I possibly can. And there will be times where I get it wrong, or I'll say something wrong, or I'll type too quickly and it'll say it wrong. Nothing offensive, but just not inclusive enough. And then there's a massive backlash towards me. And it's like, A, you can make a mistake, and B, I'm trying. I am an inclusive person. I want to be inclusive. And if I do one thing that's not quite right, it's the pile on. I think it's a bit like in this scenario, she has done so much around body image, body positivity with her I Weigh campaign and stuff. And she talks about lots of things that are incredibly feminist and incredibly female centered, but then does one thing where she supports the man and not the woman. And it's like, whoa, you failed. You're a terrible. You've let us down. And it's like, well, we are three-dimensional people. There's nuance in how we behave. And I think people tend to forget that.
I think it's important as well is that she wasn't necessarily supporting the man in this situation. What she was supporting her girlfriend, her friend, female friend. who was Justin Baldoni's publicist. But I agree with you absolutely. This is a thing that stops people trying to do anything at all. If you know that you are very, very vocal and trying to make a change and make a difference, and then if you then make a misstep, it's like everybody's looking for you to make a misstep, and then they're going to pile on you. And I see that a lot, and it makes it hard for people to speak out and say the things that they want to say. And I always try and be kind of, my accounts are like fairly honest, and if I want to say it, I'll come out and say it. But there's always that kind of fear that you're going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
And it does make me upset, because that thing about women having to support all other women, it's quite often, and this is going to kind of step on the next topic, but it's all right, it's women that are quite often doing the pile on as well. It's not, in this instance, it's not men coming out and saying, oh, you're a terrible feminist, Jameela Jamil, because they don't care. It's other women who are saying it, and they're knocking that down. And I just always wonder, maybe it's just because I have very limited energy to get involved in these things. Maybe these people have infinite energy, and the energy they're using in getting online and telling Jameela Jamil she's a fake feminist and writing articles, maybe they're also doing 10 times that to smash the patriarchy. But probably, my limited energy suggests that if I had to pick one, I think my energy would be better directed in other directions, rather than desperately looking for people online who've said something that might just like a tiny bit not agree with me.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking about last week on the podcast around, should celebrities be political? Well, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So it's a bit similar. So she, her entire, she's an actress, first of all, she makes money by acting, but on her socials, there's a lot, as I said, about feminism and women's rights and body positivity and all those things. So, she puts so much energy in, and I think of her as that woman, and then to tear her down for doing one thing that you don't agree with, it's almost like we need to, she's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't. It's that sort of same thought, that same thing. And it's just, yeah. And also with all of these things, you just brought up, Depp and Heard, for example, and there's been countless other things. It's like, we don't know what happened. Like, none of us know, because we were not there. In fact, the only people that knows are the two people that are suing each other or whatever, ultimately, because even the friends of them only probably hear their side or whatever. Like, you just don't know. So for us to sit at home and make judgment, I just feel,
it's hard not to. And I do think there is a point where it's not that you should give people a free pass if they've done bad things. I don't think it's, if people, I think if you're trying to be inclusive and you say something which may not be inclusive, it's fine to maybe call someone out on that, to bring that up, to mention that maybe that's not the best way. But I think that that's very different to the kind of pile on we see quite often in these situations, where there's almost a glee to it, where people are just so happy that they've got, yes, we finally found a flaw in this woman. Yes, let's bring her down.
It's really like that, isn't it? It's like they've been waiting for that one moment where they can absolutely, come in there. And I don't know her. She's probably got quite thick skin, but it's still stuff she then has to deal with, where she could be doing something else, like working, for example, actually doing her job, or doing some positive stuff. So it's kind of like, whilst it might not affect her, and I think that's the thing, people, I think, that say these things don't realise that it does affect people. I think they think, they're a celebrity or whatever. They don't have, they don't care. But actually, it does take them away and takes their brain away from, doing the day job or whatever.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we're all just people doing the very best we can.
Something that caught my eye recently was an article about Amber Davis and about how she was heavily trolled during her stint on Strictly, and her comment around that nearly all of the trolling came from older women. So, for anyone that doesn't know who Amber Davis is, she was a contestant on the last series of Strictly. She was previously been in Love Island, but she's actually in musical theatre. So she's in, I think she's about to start Legally Blonde now in London, and she's done other things over the years. She was a last minute booking. So one of the celebrities left, I think, with about a week to go before the live shows. So Amber stepped in. And the thing is Amber has the ability to dance because she dances on stage. So the world, stroke, all the people that complain about people on Strictly Come Dancing were complaining because she had previous experience. And they piled in on her straight away. Before she'd even stepped foot on the ballroom floor, she was sort of vilified in the press. It's interesting that there was also another man, and his name escapes me, who also had previous dance experience, who was in Billy Elliot, but nobody complained about him. Nobody had a problem with him. It was just Amber. And it carried on all the way through the show. She was deemed to be smug, where, you know, you could just say she was just really professional because she worked really hard. She was too ambitious. Why was she there? You know, what was she going to get out of it? But then everybody's there to get something out of it. And they said she was cold, you know, just really went in on her, and it did not stop. She got through to the final. She didn't win, but actually she was really humble in the final. She actually said, I don't want to win. I've already won. Like I have learned so much. This has changed my life. But these two other people had no dance experience and they deserved to win. So she was really, really humble. But still, everyone kept piling in on her. And apparently, all the people that were piling in on her, there's a theme here, was middle-aged and older women, which gave me zero surprises because, you know, this is what I see on a daily basis. But I'd like to chat about what is it about women dissing, you know what I mean, trolling women online, and older women doing it to a young, beautiful, clever, ambitious, successful, talented woman. What's wrong with us in inverted commas, because I think she's fabulous.
Well, I'm glad you cleared up who Amber Davies was to start with, because I had absolutely zero clue. I like read a news article and I could see that she was on Love Island and Strictly, and that was about as far as it went. So I'm glad to know that she's doing other things too.
She is. And I think she was an actress or was doing something before Love Island. She probably went on Love Island to just kind of progress her career. She already had a career before that, but yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, jealousy is always like the easy thing to say, isn't it? Like, oh, they're jealous of a young, beautiful, ambitious woman. I mean, is it that? Kind of, it's kind of hard to say that it's not, to be honest. Or is it just that women are just so fed up of being judged all the time that they feel like it's their turn to judge other people? Do you think it's jealousy?
Potentially, and I think that's the thing people always say. And actually, I'm around my aunt's house recording this week, and I mentioned this is what we're talking about, and she said jealousy straight away. But like, I'm not jealous of. I mean, I don't troll. To be fair, let's just put that out there. But I'm not like. I mean, I might be jealous of somebody my own age doing something amazing, potentially. But why would I be jealous? I mean, I don't know how old she is. Probably about 28. I don't know. She might be older. I don't think she is. Why? And also, she's a dancer. I'm not a dancer, so I'm not jealous on that. She can sing. I can't sing. It's like not in the realm of somebody I would be jealous of. Do you know what I mean? Because she's like a million miles away.
Yeah, you and Amber Davies are not in direct competition.
I wonder how much it's unhappiness and not jealousy. So, because I mean, it's worth saying I get trolled a lot, and it's always by women. Everyone presumes it's men. Never. Well, actually, occasionally, maybe about 3% is men. Generally, they think they're being funny by what they're saying, but the actual nastiness is always women. And I wonder if it's a bit of boredom and unhappiness with their own lives. So I don't think they want to be Amber Davies or me in my scenario. I think they're just so frustrated that they need to take it out on somebody. But I don't think it's the right thing to do, obviously.
Jealousy is one of those words that gets thrown at women a lot as well, isn't it? Like bitter and what's the word? I've completely forgotten the word now, but yeah, like bitter, jealous, those kind of things are things that we accuse women of. We very rarely accuse men of being bitter and jealous. So I do think that these are very gendered kind of insults that we throw at people who are kind of trolling online. But I do know what you mean. It's are these women who see, is she saying it's older women? Is it something that they're seeing people who had opportunities that they never have, and it is unhappiness? But then but why then do you feel the need to bring that out online? Why aren't you happy that a generation is getting opportunities that you never had? It just seems really odd to me.
I think there's also a layer of internalized misogyny, because we have all grown up being told, or it being inferred around us, that ambitious women, shouldn't be a thing, get back in your place. And of course, it's easy for me to think, well, why would other women say that? But when you've been told that your entire life, you have internalized it and you have become that thing yourself. You have those views, and you probably don't even realize you have those views, but we all have internalized misogyny in us. All of us do. We all, because it's what we have seen since we were, started looking at the television, for example, which is like when we were 2. So, we've got it all inside us. But I think to be able to then get it out there into the world and type it, I feel like you've got to be really unhappy or insecure or frustrated. There's got to be something. I don't think it's like, I wish I was her. I think it's more about, as you said, she's got the opportunities, or she looks happy, or she's successful, or she's doing the thing I wanted to do, or I don't know. But
so if we flip it round, imagine it was men making those comments. What reason would you think that they were doing it?
Because they don't like ambitious, successful women.
So yeah, so I think that's quite interesting to do, because if we flip it round like that and say, if it was men doing it, we wouldn't accuse them of being jealous. We wouldn't accuse them of being bitter. We wouldn't accuse them of being unhappy necessarily. We would accuse men doing it of just not liking successful and ambitious women. I guess that's the internalized misogyny thing. If you then put that back over onto maybe women don't like ambitious, successful women either. I mean, maybe that is the age. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe there are more older women that don't like ambitious, successful women than there are younger women that don't like ambitious, successful women. Just because we're fine with ambitious, successful women most of the time, probably. Get back to, I'm sure it's one of those things where we'll be like, if we do say something horrible against an ambitious, successful woman, in our heads, that will be justified. So presumably these people do think it's justified what they're saying.
I think they do. I don't think, nobody says, I'm sorry, but she seems really smug. They just say she seems really smug. No, in fact, not even seen, she's really smug. So I think they probably think it's totally okay and justified. They're not apologetic for it. Interestingly, you said about the younger women, I wonder if they are. I suppose we're not going to know that. If it's just older women that are particularly trolling, does that mean we're all eventually going to die out and the world will be a troll-free place? I wonder. Or is there just something about hitting 50, or I'm using 50 as the benchmark here because of my age, but it's a tough time. You've got menopause, you've got, kid stuff, husband stuff, like everything piling up. And then you see this like skippity woman doing really well on television, dancing amazingly. And we're like,
I mean, it could just be that that's the audience for Strictly Come Dancing, of course. Just suddenly occurred to me that like the audience for Strictly Come Dancing isn't like 18-year-olds, is it? And it's not straight white men either.
True.
There is a very specific audience for the sparkliness of Strictly Come Dancing, and therefore any kind of pushback online or comments are going to come from its audience. So it's going to be kind of middle-aged women, because the 18-year-olds aren't watching it. They've got exciting lives to live, I imagine.
Yeah, and I think Strictly is just one example. I mean, obviously trolling is happening everywhere, of women in shows everywhere, but maybe we're just the ones watching television. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
We are spending too much.
I mean, like your trolls, for instance, would be more likely to be your audience. So it would be midlife women that would be trolling you. I mean, it would be very rare for a bloke to pop up, because your content isn't going to kind of pop up on his feed probably most of the time. I mean, I think it is mostly women that I've had when they've been trolling me about anything where I've mentioned my age, which is the one that always comes up. But when I've talked about, I have unbelievably been trolled on posts about cancer.
What?
Good God. And that was men. The one particularly that sticks out in my head is the one that told me that it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been so fat, which was beautiful. So again, maybe those kind of posts will reach a wider audience, and maybe that's when the trolling men turn up. Maybe it is literally the audience. And I can't help but we're going back to and forgetting that the people that you see online are human beings again. I feel like we do actually have some very common threads, I think, running through all three topics today. And forgetting that you're speaking to a human being when you start picking on people online, rather than you're not critiquing an artwork, you are speaking to a living, breathing human being. Is it just such an important thing to remember at all times, at all point in your life?
And she went online and was in the press at the time saying, talking about it, because she found it really hard, and her dance partner talked openly, and at the final he was talking about how much hate she had got, and it was unnecessary. And as I said, the guy that could also dance, I can't remember his name, Lewis, I think, he didn't get anything. And if any comment was about him, it would be like, oh, well, he has had previous experience, which is a fact. But he wasn't smug or overly ambitious or cold or all these things. And it's remembering, as you said, that she's a human being, but she's also a young human being. And that doesn't mean, you could be nasty to older people, but not young people. But the point was, she's not equipped to deal with it all as well, life experience to actually deal with it. And she thinks, I'm coming on a dance show. I'm going to learn a new dance every week. I'm going to get paid for it. Yes, it might help my career. And in fact, I think she got the Legally Blonde thing, and it will have helped her career, but that's okay. You are allowed to do things that help your career. She's thinking, I'm going to do all this. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to meet some new people. And then she's bombarded. And it's like, she is not equipped. She's like, whoa. And I think, again, because she was in Love Island, I think there's an air of she's fair game, they're fair game. And it's like, no. They are just, young people going on a show. And you might say, oh my God, I'd never go on that show ever in a million years. But, they are allowed to, without abuse, about what they look like, how they behave, how they speak. It's like, oh, it's just too much.
Yeah. And we're watching it as well. You can't just go, oh, I would never go on a show like that, because it's just awful and so cringe. And when you're sitting at home glued to it on a Saturday night.
So I've got a question for you. How can we be part of changing the narrative or changing behaviors? Because one of the things I do, although I do get told off for it, is I often call it out. I have the first nasty trolley comment I get, I pin it to the top of the comments. They get the pin of shame. And it really upsets them. But I'm a bit like, no, if you going to stand behind this comment, I want everybody to see it. It's not going to get all. And then I'm like, but then people write to me and saying, you're calling them out, you're giving them airtime, that's what they want. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. But then again, I don't think you should be able to say something really nasty and get away with it. I think that's wrong, and they shouldn't get away with it. So how do we stop it, and how do we deal with it?
Okay, let's just fix that in the last 1 minute we've got for this topic.
Let's try.
Well, I mean, I always try and kind of, I guess, just be a lived example, I guess. Do you know what I mean? don't say nasty things to people unless they are specifically asking for nasty things to be said, frankly, which normally means that they've said something nasty to me first. But I do not go back on that and then say, you know, a lot of people will do that thing where they'll call people out for calling someone ugly and they'll go and find their profile picture and go, yeah, well, look the hell at you.
Yeah.
I try not to do that. It's so tempting. Just as I said that, I just thought, oh God, did I do that to one of the blokes that was mean about me? But
there are people, aren't there? They make content out of, you know, these are the faces of the people that said the things, and it makes great content. Don't get me wrong, and it does really, really good engagement. Gets really good engagement. And when I first saw one, I thought, oh, I could do that. But then I was like, yeah, but you're judging them for their appearance, having them judge you for your appearance, and that just is a bit icky to me.
It's so tempting. But yeah, I mean, I really think that I don't know what direct action I feel like we can take to stop doing this. Calling it out, maybe, but just try and remind people that we're all humans at the end of the day. Remember your humanity.
I sometimes write back, you know, sometimes I go, thank you very much for your feedback, like I'm in a call center. And sometimes I go, oh, that's so nice. It's really made my day. Thanks. And it's almost like I come at them. They want me to fight or get upset. So I kind of come at them with kind of kindness. I do a bit of that. But I'm also trying really hard to just block them and delete them, because it's like, I don't need this. And, you know, you don't need to come and tell me my roots look terrible and I look haggard. Like, I mean, apart from anything else, I can see my roots need doing and I look a bit haggard. You don't need to tell me. You're just being mean. Like, go away. And I'm trying to get better at that. But I don't think that stops it. That just helps us deal with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that does. Yeah. I mean, I have tried that, you know, responding to comments with a, why did you feel the need to say this kind of thing? But most of the time it's always just ended up with people coming back to me, go, because you're ugly and fat, you know, like they just kind of double down on it if they come back. So again, I don't think that's much point. I think there's always going to be people that want to argue, and I think really all we can do is discourage it. Obviously, try and be an example, and kind of try and make sure people have the tools to deal with it. Block, delete, just do it straight off. Who cares? It's your space.
I need to be better at that, I have to say. But I also, like, back to Amber, fair play for writing an article about these women and what they said and how it made her feel. And I think calling them out, not personally, but calling them out, I think it does need to be discussed. We do need to talk. We do need celebrities or people in the public space talking about the way we are treated. And again, bringing it back to gender, it's always women that receive it as well as give it. So again, you know, as I said, the guy on the show didn't get anything. So yeah, be kind, people.
Yes, be kind. And maybe that is the way we can do it. Maybe if we speak out and say how it makes us feel when we receive it, maybe if we hear more from the victims of trolling, maybe that will be the thing that will finally make everyone realize we're all human.
Except the answer will be, well, you put yourself online, you put yourself on television. So yeah, well, we could talk about this forever and a day, and I'm sure we'll come back to it. So let's leave it there.
So this last topic is the one that's been the big topic of the week. Obviously, we couldn't really do a show where we talk about the things that everybody's talking about without mentioning what's been going on in America in January. So obviously there has been we mentioned it the other week, didn't we? Minneapolis, the protests in Minneapolis against ICE, who have been on the ground taking what they say are illegal immigrants. Other people say they aren't. I'm not even speaking. One of them was a 5-year-old, but that's not the topic we're going to talk about here today, because that is way too big a topic to be covering on a 15-minute segment on a podcast. What I'm going to talk about today is a specific thing that's come up where the women are now essentially being blamed for these protests, and not only blamed for their protests, but being blamed for their own deaths in the case of Renee Good. Fox News ran a commentary piece where they said that essentially the point of it is they were saying that these protesters aren't protesters. They are, I think Fox News obviously has a very specific angle on these things, said that they're harassing agents going about their lawful duty is a crime, and that was what got Renee Good killed. And he referred to the people that were doing this, and Renee Good in particular, as organised gangs of wine moms, which is the phrase that has now been being used as a kind of rallying cry all around social media. So that's been quite good fun. It said they were using Antifa tactics to harass ICE, which is interesting because obviously Antifa is shorthand for anti-fascist, but there we go. But there is a very specific thing about using the phrase organised gangs of wine moms. It plays into that idea that there's these middle-class liberal moms who need a glass of wine to get over the stresses of their absolutely not stressful day in the evening. And it's been brought up elsewhere. There's been a new acronym that's been going around. I don't know if you've heard this, Kate, but AWFUL. AWFUL means affluent white female urban liberal. And that's been going around on socials, and awful women are the ones that are responsible for all of this. And I see someone else saying that, I think it was a comedian, maybe. I can't remember. I couldn't find the quote when I went back to look for it. But essentially saying that these are affluent, white, middle-class women who have no problems of their own and so feel the need to get involved in other people's problems. Now, this plays back into like a long history of essentially blaming mothers when they step outside their kind of allotted roles. Mothers are selfless and gentle and soft, but when that selflessness extends outside of their families or that defense, that suddenly becomes a societal issue. Gosh, this is such a big topic, and I really want to do it justice, but I absolutely know I probably won't. But there we go. Women notice things that are going on in their neighborhoods, and quite often they're the first ones to step up. And throughout history, I think there was, in the 80s, it was Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I think, that got laws brought in about that. So like seatbelts, drunk driving laws, there's been all sorts of things. And it's the kind of thing that also gets, and I'm aware that I'm rambling now, I mean, even on The Simpsons, there's that, won't somebody think of the children? And then Marge Simpson was involved in that kind of Mothers Against, that she was getting censorship essentially, but then at the end realised the error of her ways. Do you think women are unfairly blamed for causing this trouble, or do you think it's a justified blame? And do you think there's any blame there in the first place?
Well, that was 3 questions. I think, first of all, my first thought...
I spoke for 5 minutes, so take your time.
My first thought when I heard all of this was, right, so it's the women's fault. You know, yet again, we are to blame. I think that was my first thought. But then that sort of led to, well, if you actually want to get something done, ask a bunch of women, because we are organised and efficient and we get stuff done. So there was part of me that was like, well, actually, if we are to blame, that's going to be partly why. And I then thought, actually, well, it sort of led me to think about protests in the past. So actually the protesting, so not the blame bit or the organising bit, but about how I feel in our country. So this is not talking about America, I'm talking about UK. In the 90s, we went and we protested. It was definitely a thing. I protested. I was at the anti-poll tax demonstrations, and I demonstrated for CND and anti-apartheid. Like, I spent a lot of the 90s doing that. Lots of people did that in the 70s, you know, like, but now we seem to have lost that, like, let's take to the streets and do, you know, make a change. And how I feel like people now just moan on Facebook rather than kind of taking to the streets to make things happen. So it kind of led me on to think about that. So rather than like, who is to blame? I mean, I think who is to blame is a rhetoric coming out of the media that they need somebody to blame. Don't need anyone to blame. People are really, really pissed off and have had enough and are out saying, stop. I mean, it doesn't need an organizer, whether it's a white liberal woman, mum with a glass of wine or not. Not relevant. I feel like even if there were no white liberal mums with glasses of wine, they still would have taken to the streets. So I think they're looking for someone to blame. And who's the easiest person to blame? Women, mums. Because, we're, as you said, we're supposed to be all like, oh, at home, with the bottle, baby bottle, not the wine bottle, being all gentle and sweet. And we're not allowed to have an opinion. We're not allowed to be political. We're not allowed to be, as we just discussed, ambitious. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to do any of that. We're supposed to be soft and feminine and all of that kind of thing. So I think, to answer your question, one, women again. B, women probably potentially did because we get a lot of shit done. C, even if there weren't any women there, people would have taken to the streets. I mean, it's that bad. But also, why don't we take to the streets anymore? Why do we just sit? It's a bit like the trolling thing. We just sit behind our desk, putting our opinion into Twitter or whatever. Whereas historically, we've taken to the streets. So yeah, maybe why? Maybe we don't have enough awful women here to organise it.
I think that the kind of the demonization of the women involved in this protest is very much goes back to that kind of Republican ideal of womanhood as well. Like, that there's this, the women aren't supposed to be the ones taking the lead on this. So that I think probably in the situation in America at the moment, that's probably a part of that, is that the women involved aren't performing womanhood in the way that Republicans would like them to. So I think that that's an issue there. Kind of like, part of me wants to talk about America a lot, but part of me is also very aware that I am not in America, and therefore my opinions on these things, there is very little I can do about any of this apart from just sit and watch it happen. But I think we do take to the streets, but there's been a very big push to try and stop that happening as much lately. I mean, like all the new laws that have been being brought in about protesting and things like that. And I think that's dangerous. I think we do take to social media to complain about these things. And I think we do that because it's a form of communication we didn't have in the 90s. So yeah, obviously we didn't in the 90s have this platform. We didn't have the social media platform. We weren't able to use that as a way of speaking out. So I do think it's a very, very, very useful tool for making your opinions felt on things. But it isn't the only tool. And there has been a lot of push from authorities to try and cut down on in-person protests, maybe because it takes a lot of policing and it costs a lot of money. That there in this country, even there was, so when there were protests, Black Lives Matter protests and that kind of thing, and there's been a drive to paint the people involved in the protests as disruptive rather than people with a valid opinion. And when people actually come out on the streets, they are painted as disruptors. So maybe that's part of it, why people are less keen to do this kind of thing, because there is a fear of overly aggressive tactics to shut this kind of thing down. But I do absolutely agree with you about if you want something done, get women to do it, though. I think women, one of the things about the organized gangs of wine moms that I absolutely loved is that linguistically, there's just so much to unpack in there. Organized, yes. Women are organized, and it's the wine moms. There was something so dismissive about the word wine moms. Like, I feel like wine's being used to suggest that these women are out of touch. They're not beer moms, they're wine moms. Only posh, out of touch people drink wine, right? So there was a little bit of that, and that's how we were referring to them. So yeah, linguistically, absolutely fascinating. But the fact that these were organized gangs of wine moms, yeah, these moms are getting stuff done and they're bringing wine. To me, this feels like something I could be part of, mom or not. I could definitely be part of this. It is also worth noting that it wasn't so long ago that JD Vance was saying it was childless cat ladies that were ruining the country. So we're basically causing trouble everywhere we go.
Sorry, I'm just laughing. And obviously not at the situation, but the whole, the cat lady thing as well. It's just we can't win. Literally, we have to be the one at fault. But then I also think, in this situation, ICE are actively looking for anybody that is non-white. That's what they're doing. So actually, probably, and obviously I'm not there, the people organising this could potentially be the white people in the community. And that's not a negative thing. That's actually just the way it is right now because they feel safer, although ironically, they're not. But they might feel a bit safer. So they're organizing and empowering. But actually, as I said, I think everybody is taking to the streets because they've had enough. And, 3 people have been shot in January. I mean, we're not even in February, in one place, in one neighborhood. I mean, this is crazy, dangerous times. And somebody had to organize it. And it looks like it was wine mums. I think the wine is, you're right, it's so interesting because it's being really snooty towards a certain type of woman, isn't it? Oh, and they're drinking wine. It's really not relevant what they're drinking. They could be drinking a latte. It really doesn't matter, but they've gone for the wine because it's like wine o'clock and it's that kind of.
Yeah, it's that kind of, like glittery, live, laugh, love kind of. But do you know what? Sod it if it gets stuffed up. I am proud of organised gangs of wine mums for standing up for what they believe in and for standing up to vulnerable people in their community. That's kind of how I feel. Maybe that's what mums do. Mums look after vulnerable people, and if the vulnerable people in their community are being picked on by the big kids, they're going to stand up for the vulnerable children. And maybe that's what's happening here with the organised gangs of wine mums. In a larger sense, they're standing up for their kids against bullies.
Yeah, and I am a mum, not having been a mum, I am a mum. And, when you see a kid or you hear of a kid in your child's school or whatever, something bad happens to them, you get like, right, let's sort this out collectively. You do get like that. So actually, maybe this phrase wine mums is quite clever, really. Although, what was the awful again? What does it stand for?
Affluent, white, female, urban, liberal.
So they couldn't get a W in that for the wine. Or the W could have been as well. Anyway.
Yeah. Affluent wine female. No, that doesn't work.
They need somebody to blame. Ultimately, the system needs somebody to blame. And of course, they'll blame the women. I mean, what about the organised white men who are liberal and may also like a glass of wine? They're probably there too. Yeah. So it's just awful.
Awful. Affluent, white, female, urban liberals.
No words.
Yeah, I'm proud of the organised moms. It might be that you are the organised wine mom, but I'm not even a childless cat lady. I'm a childless pug lady.
But the childless cat lady thing is just, again, it's such a tired, old stereotype, an old, like you'll be a childless cat lady. Well, maybe I will. Or crazy, maybe not childless, you're a crazy cat lady, and I hear this a lot in the kind of midlife, 50, 60-year-old women being told, you have to stay with your husband, otherwise you'll be a child, I keep saying childless, not childless, you'll be a crazy cat lady, lonely cat lady. And all the women I speak to say, well, great, I'll be happy. I'll have my own space, I'll have my cats, and you could be swapped out for pugs. It doesn't matter. The point is it's used as a way to beat a stick at us. And it's like, well, actually, I'm really happy just to be surrounded by cats. Actually, I'm a dog person. Dogs, and I'll be perfectly happy. What's your problem with that, mate?
I strongly suggest that you go and have a Google of the phrase organised gangs of wine moms, because there are some really good fun articles out there as well. There was one which was supposed to be the minutes of the neighbourhood wine moms meeting, in which they are discussing how red lipstick was used as a protest in the 1930s and 40s, and which colour they should use to make their teeth look whiter should they happen to be caught on camera while they're at a protest. Alongside, could they get bulletproof backpacks for their children? It's very amusing. I do recommend that you look at that. Yeah. So this is a fun one today, and we've only got limited time to talk about it. So maybe we can just wrap up by saying that being an organised wine mum or a childless cat lady is not a bad thing. It means that you are noticing injustices in your neighbourhood and you are standing up for people who need standing up for.
Agree.
What do you think? Yeah. Yeah.
I was just going to say, agree. And I just hope things start to change. I mean, I hope things start to change a lot in the world. I often think this. In fact, every day when I see the news, I think things need to change. But if some of the pushback is from these women, good for them.
Good for them.
I mean, thank you for joining us for another roundup of midlife chat, hot takes, and occasional moaning. Well, quite a bit of moaning.
Make sure you hit subscribe so your podcast app gently nudges you every Friday, because honestly, who remembers anything without a reminder these days? And also, we like people liking us because we're very needy.
And if you fancy being extra lovely, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more brilliant women like you find us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and make sure you find time for yourself. You deserve it.